Wow, it's not every day that I get to bring you guys something that I've never had before. This is almost a whole different class of watch. It's definitely a different vibe. This is the Credor Eichi II. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing any of that right, but this is one of the most spectacularly crafted watches created ever on planet Earth, and I'm super psyched to bring it to you today. Here we go. Now, this watch is what you get when you take minimalist aesthetics and combine them with sort of maximalist craftsmanship. At first glance, it may not look like much, and that's why we've got to take a deep dive on it so you know exactly what's going on. On the front, you see a three-hand watch, simple, white dial, blue hands, and that's what you get at first until you realize this dial is porcelain. Beautiful, beautiful hand-done porcelain, and it is hand-painted in as perfect a way as you will ever see. I mean, you really have to dig in with a 10x loop to see imperfections in this in any way. And they're really not, imperfections, just evidence of handwork. I cannot imagine what sort of discipline it takes to create a dial like this. I'm told that it takes a full day just to paint. Now, these are incredibly limited watches. Seiko makes about 20 of them a year. Less than 5 per year come to the United States. And you can see why when you start to see the level of craftsmanship. You have this white porcelain dial, blue painted on, stick markers, and this Credor logo, and made in Japan at the bottom here. And then these beautiful, beautiful blue hands that are particularly interestingly formed. They look very simple, but if you look at the actual form of the tip, I've never really seen a hand quite like it, and they are blued completely perfectly. I mean, it just doesn't get any better. The other thing that you'll notice when you first look at the watch, if you're a mechanical watch nerd like most of them are, is that the second hand just glides around the dial. And that's, of course, because this uses a spring drive movement. Spring drive is a pretty amazing technological solution that Swiss watch fans don't really give enough credit to because they're just not focused on it. But it's one of the most incredible horological developments of the last century, and I think it deserves a little bit more credit. So while this is a very simple watch, and we're used to watches like the Simplicity being sort of simple without any extras or any sort of horological interestingness to them, this actually does contain one of the most technologically advanced movements that there is. So that's pretty interesting. And also, the spring drive itself lends this sort of Zen feeling to it that really goes well with the ethos of this watch in general. So let's flip it around. And here you have this exquisitely, exquisitely finished movement. Now, it's manual wind. It has a 60-hour power reserve. You'll see the power reserve is here, empty, full. We've got this puppy almost full right now. The barrel cover is really cool with these flower-shaped cutouts, and each one is stunningly, stunningly polished and beveled. That's the overall theme of this watch, is just perfection in finish. You'll see this straight graining is as even and long and beautiful as you can find, and these bevels are just luscious. I mean, they're like double or triple the size you see on anything. Super thick, fat bevels. And then the way that they interact with these countersinks for the jewels and the screws is like nothing I've ever seen. You have some that go all the way just to kissing the bevel, and then you have little spaces here, and just the way that everything interacts is really unique. If I take a macro just of one screw or one little bit of a bevel, you know immediately that it is an Eichi. And now in here, you can see the main feature of the spring drive, which is its wheel, and nothing touches it. So that's why you get this perfect glide. Instead of an escapement where it's getting stopped in each direction, this uses an electromagnet. And so there's basically a field that controls its speed. And so nothing actually mechanically is starting and stopping as it's going. And that's why you have a perfect airy glide to it. Now I'll show you the watch on the wrist. The Eichi II is 39 millimeters, which is pretty much the perfect size for a dressy watch. This particular one is in platinum. They also make it in rose gold. I threw it on this blue suede strap. I really like the idea of dressing down extremely dressy watches, and in this configuration it's pretty awesome with just jeans and a t-shirt, but you could also just pop the alligator strap back on and have a perfect watch for a suit and tie. Me, I'm a jeans and t-shirt or even shorts and t-shirt guy right now, so this works quite well for me. It's as thin as you would expect it to be, classic proportions. It does come on a platinum deployant buckle. I swapped it for this aftermarket, I guess it's Hodinkee actually, tang, just because it's easier to show you guys the movement when I can totally open the strap, you know. One notable feature that you would never know unless you got to own one of these puppies, it is the smoothest winding watch I've ever felt in my life. The crown feel is just like off the charts, fantastically amazing on this watch. So that's one of the beautiful tactile pleasures that the owner of this piece gets to enjoy. And you can see the porcelain dial just lighting up there in my light. Just stunning. That's the Credor Eichi II. It's about as good a watch as you can get. In my mind, this blows a simplicity out of the water. Maybe one day I'll discuss my thoughts overall on the two, but every single part of this is made by these master artisans. The simplicity, if you look into it, most parts were made out of Philippe Dufour's workshop. So this is really a more holistic product in my mind. The spring drive really puts it over the top, giving it that extra horological edge. The finish is as good as anything I've ever seen, if not better. And I just think it's a particularly beautiful watch, which is, you know, all that really counts. So I'm happy to bring this to you guys. These are obviously extremely rarely seen, so it's exciting that I got to have one in here to show you. Hope to be back soon. I've got a lot of stuff to show you. So thank you very much for checking in with my channel. Thank you for sharing it. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all the feedback. See you guys later.